Hi there, and welcome to All in Your Head. So I suppose today's video could also be called The Blind Trying to Lead the Blind. Over the last couple of weeks I've been paralysed by my own depression, and here I am trying to give you advice about how to cope with it. But sure, I might as well go ahead anyway. I suppose I just want to try and share with people the things that I've learnt that I really wish I'd known sooner, in the hope that they may help at least one person. Fortunately, I'm still suffering from a severe case of the brain fog, so I may be using notes for some of this video. Before I proceed, I just want to say that I'm totally not discouraging anybody from speaking to loved ones if you feel you may be depressed, or you definitely are depressed. For some of us, it's the first step to getting the help we need, and sometimes even just knowing that someone is aware of what you're going through really helps. Many will listen non-judgmentally and maybe give you some advice on what they think you should do. Others, I found though, have a set idea of what depression is and may tell you things like antidepressants don't work, or sure, maybe just eat more bananas and you'll feel better. True story. I developed depression quite young, so I suppose I took everything anyone said as gospel. As I mentioned in my last video, even with the best intentions, sometimes the things people said made me feel worse, or made me feel like the depression was my fault. But this is just something to keep in mind. I mean, family and friends do give good advice, and sometimes it can be just trial and error about what works and what doesn't work. Unfortunately though, I do think there are people who may not have others in their life that will understand, and they may need, say, a safe space to speak to a third party. So this is why I suppose one of my first recommendations would be, if you don't already have one, to find a good GP or general practitioner. But again, in my experience, this isn't as easy as it sounds. As a society, we hold doctors in high regard, and of course we do. They can be the difference between life and death, between being in pain or being healthy. However, I do think it's unhealthy to think that they have all the right answers and that what one doctor says is final. They are human beings like the rest of us and prone to the same prejudice and mistakes. I think that the many doctors, counsellors, psychotherapists and psychiatrists that I've seen over the years have had their own ideas about what depression is. And I suppose this is probably because it's a nebulous creature. I think that what works for one person may not work for another. So medical professionals tend to form their very own rigid, subjective opinions. So I just want to share one of my own stories with you. One year I visited 4 different doctors in the same medical centre. The first one told me to end a relationship and then agreed to prescribe me medication only if I saw a counsellor. Then the second doctor I saw didn't really care about getting me into therapy. He just wanted to up my dose. He said that I would probably only be on the medication for a year or so. Then the next one after that said I could be on it the rest of my life if that's what I wanted. I think the fourth and final one was the most helpful. Firstly, she made me cry because I didn't have health insurance, and then she wrote "relax" on a piece of paper and handed it to me. Besides from the obvious fact that I needed to change medical centres, I suppose I just wanted to show that there is so much varying information given to people with depression, and that was even in just one medical centre. I've had many different GPs over the years, and I suppose last year decided that I needed to find just one GP who I could develop a relationship with and who kind of knew my history. So before I found this person, I decided to do a bit of research, and I checked out some of the doctors' profiles on the medical centre websites. And I suppose I'd maybe recommend other people to do the same. And what I found was someone who, say, had a diploma in clinical psychiatry or had experience working in a psychiatric hospital would have at least some experience dealing with mental illness and maybe understand it a bit more. And really this is the best thing I could have done. The first thing that my new GP said to me was that bipolar disorder is treated differently to depression. So the antidepressants I'd been on for the last year or so could be making me feel a lot worse. The other GPs I'd seen had my bipolar diagnosis but hadn't said anything about this. As well, the Frankie Says Relax doctor wouldn't refer me to a psychiatrist because she said my case wasn't serious enough. But the second thing my new GP said to me was that she would refer me to a psychiatrist because bipolar disorder was maybe out of her experience level. So I suppose I'm lucky not many people will have the option to change GPs. So I suppose I'd still recommend that you maybe ask as many questions as possible, or maybe have some prepared before you go in. There are some days I really still have to fight to get my doctors to take me seriously. But at the end of the day, whether you're paying for it or not, the doctor is a service provider and you still deserve a good level of care. And I think as well, if you want to get better, you really need to try and get the best out of the services that are offered to you. I know that many people may be reluctant that they will just be prescribed antidepressants and sent home. And unfortunately, over the years, I was twice prescribed antidepressants against my will, and I didn't take them, although probably would have been better if I had, lol. I'm on them now, but I do understand that they're possibly not for everybody. However, I think a GP can recommend other services available, and maybe point you in the right direction. The one thing I would say about medication is I know a few people that have been on them, and they have really helped. And I think most doctors are eager to actually take people off them after a year or so, once people get back to a level that they can function properly. One doctor said it was a crutch, and maybe it's true. If you had a broken leg, you'd need a crutch. So I think sometimes the right meds can give you a helping hand back to your old self. Doctors can make suggestions about treatment paths for you. However, at the end of the day, you are the expert in how you are feeling, and I think that's a really good thing to remember. It might be a good way to see yourself and the doctor as a team trying to relieve your depression. I didn't believe or think this for a long time. I just accepted everything they said, and I think this really hindered my treatment. So I suppose I just wanted to end this video by saying, please do talk to somebody if you are depressed. Most people will be really understanding. And look, if you feel you can't do that, there are lots of people you can talk to in organisations such as Samaritans, or online at places like the Black Dog Tribe. I will include the links in the description below. So, thanks for watching today, and take care for now.